I may not be what this industry deserves, but I'm what it needs. Someone to light the way through the darkness of shitty games. A guide through the dank, untouched caverns of older games. A sharp sword to cut through the hubris of newer titles. I am Judge James.
The past. The past is what we look to for guidance. The past is what we look to for hope. The past is where we look for answers. But in the case of a dark yet just vigilante superhero, the past is where we look in regret. This is why I do what I do. Games stop people like her being hurt any more than they already have by this cruel world. Recently, more and more of my past has been coming back to haunt me. Before I made my decision to go public, I encountered many evils from my childhood. I feel like something dark was onto me. I'll have to be on my guard. Eddy and the Mis-Edventures. What a surprise, another game from my childhood. Well, I might as well check it out. During the childhood of the average 21st century Western child, only 3 things are guaranteed in said child's childhood. A relative you despise, a favourite television show, and the inevitable giggling at the back of the classroom at the sex education page of the biology textbook. Maybe not the last one. Maybe not any of them either. But you get the idea, I'm trying to build up an opening here, man. So going back to favourite TV programmes, I know that everyone here watching had one. Whether it be a series of toy lines that transform into TV shows, or possibly a bunch of camp teens going around place to place solving painfully elaborate mysteries, or maybe you're one of those pansies that watch live-action high school dramas. Despite all your opinions, I would like to state that the correct favourite TV show was in fact Ed, Edd and Eddy, a slapstick comedy about the complexes of 3 misunderstood kids growing up in American suburbia. It was either that or some shit about children actually being dead and tortured by demons, but I digress. It was something about this show, I don't know, I guess I just found something appealing about 3 strapping young men running around and getting their bodies tangled into uncomfortable positions by physically dominant males with big muscles and... Sorry, I get distracted sometimes. So the game then. Ed, Edd and Eddy and Mis-Edventures was a game developed by some people I can't be bothered to list and was published by Midway Games, exposition. You know how people tend to say that games based around already established products have trouble transitioning the overhauling feeling from the established market to gaming? Well, Ed, Edd and Eddy the Misunfortunate Exploits has this problem locked away in a bag and sleeping with the fishes faster than you can say endless celestial sex. Honestly, the game looks and feels just like the TV show. We have the whole cast of Ed, Edd and Eddy playing their respective characters, and the whole look of the game, even when using 3D graphics, practically might as well be what the show would have looked like if the show was made using 90s CGI. But hey, this is still pretty hard to do, transitioning a 2D product to a 3D. This is especially oppressive when you take into account this is their first time attempting this, and they chose to attempt it while attempting their first game with the characters. Overall, it was a good, attempt. I think I need a thesaurus. The cutscenes in the game are animated in the same 2D style the show was done in, apart from the fact that they aren't fully animated, but hey, I didn't come here to admire no product, I came here to play the game. Wait.
Oh look, Eddy even laughs like he does in the show. Yep, he's definitely still laughing. Still laughing. Bloody hell, talk about repetitive voice acting! Despite all the good things I could say about the voice actors on Ed, Edd and Eddy, you couldn't think they could keep the bastards round a little bit longer to record audio a wee while longer. You can tell the actors are putting quite a bit of effort into it. I mean, the game, as I said, looks and feels just like the show, but all their audio could have been recorded in a day. You don't think the developers might have been able to record a little bit more stock, or at least find some nice things to say in the show and copy and paste it into the game? Better that than less another.
My, intriguing.
Oh shit your gob, you irksome pest. Anyway, the first level of the game opens up with the trio plotting on a sunny day of how they're gonna make fake ice cream to sell to their fellows. They deduced the best way to do this was to steal some ice boxes from children and pour those into some sort of meatball maker. I'm mostly wondering that's a thing now, I don't know. Actually, something that bugs me about the level plots in this game is the fact that they all seem to be based around scamming kids. Fair dues, that's what they do in the show, fine, but why do they threesome scam in the show? Well, to get money. To get jawbreakers. One may wonder why they would need all the children's money if literally everywhere they look there seems to be collectibles like jawbreakers and dimes. They're everywhere. On the floor, in random crates, everywhere. I don't understand why you would need to scam people if the dimes and the quarter fairies has went around herself putting individual pieces of American currency all over the floor. Since we're on the topic of shiny things, this game loves collectibles more than I like to lower my own self-esteem. You're a goddamn asshole. We have the dime, we have the quarter, which interestingly enough seem to be mixed up. I specifically remember these being quarters in the show, whatever. We also have the jawbreaker and the chicken. Apologies. This game brings out the inner child in me. Also, we have sandpit costumes, which Ed can dig up using his diggy hole ability. So Ed and Eddy in the show seem to be like an inseparable trinity, almost like one entity. You cannot find these three away from each other during the show, and if one of them is grounded, they'll still find a way to communicate. The game takes this trinity idea one step further and actually makes it so one of the main mechanics of the game is the idea that you can play as all three characters at the same time, and all the characters join up to make a special ability. For instance, Ed can be pushed into walls by his two friends to smash them up, as a self-described battering ram, a fun concept but used in very specific situations. Double D can be launched in the air in a trampoline-like motion to get in certain areas, mostly to solve puzzles and help the other three get through locked doors and such, also a very specific situation. Eddy's special ability is to make a tower with his friends into a physically possible piggyback formation. This is used to cross narrow planks of wood and get things that are high up. Again, this is very specific. Are you seeing a pattern here yet? When hearing about these characters' abilities, I can't help but be reminded of the last good episode of Misfits, when the protagonists encounter a villain whose one power is to manipulate dairy products to his whim. Like, you can see what situations that might come in useful, but when compared to everyone else's abilities, like Spider-Man's and all that, it might come off as a little bit mundane. This isn't to say the characters are completely useless. Since we have 3 different characters to play as simultaneously, we can expect some gameplay differentiation. Right? Sort of. The characters themselves have quirky little abilities, but all handle the same. Like, take Eddy for instance. He has different attacks to Ed. Eddy attacks with a stink bomb and a yo-yo. Ed attacks with his head and shit he throws. But in the end, both characters do the same thing. The stink bomb does the same thing as the throw attacks, at least on hostiles, and the throw attacks does the same thing as Double D's slingshot. So the gameplay is varied but gimmicky. Just like every Nintendo console since the GameCube. Oh baby! I went there. Around this time, we found all the ice packs and already proved that the residents of Peach Creek have the memory span of a 15-year-old diagnosed with ADD on energy. Oh god, look, a new Sips video! No, Sips, it's fine. Shout out from me, welcome to the Big Boys Club. What was I on about? Oh well. Looks like we finished that level. Here, Hub World! The Hub World is pleasing. It's the cul-de-sac from the TV show. I remember when I played this game as a kid, I spent hours in this place just messing around doing the Ed things. I did the Ed charge to get around, I did the Ed jumps, I did the Ed throws, I did the Ed sexual experimentation, all the things that are Ed related. Even though nothing's really here apart from the glorified entrances to the next level, that didn't really stop me from going around areas. Honestly, I love the cul-de-sac so much because the whole thing reminded me so much of the show. The same reason I would spend so much time pissing around in the Simpsons house from the Simpsons game. Presentation, especially when dealing with these beloved franchises, is unbelievably important. However, the area does have some neat features. For instance, the Hub World has a little park area which dispenses vintage jawbreakers from imported around the world, with little captions underneath them, which provide for some chuckles. I mean, interestingly enough, it seems that inflation occurs every time you buy a jawbreaker, but whatever. Also, if you're wondering what the chicken eggs are for, they basically activate little movie boosts for things like this.
I'm never bored when I'm with you. We're pals, we're buddies through and through. Wish I knew what to buy for you on your birthday. Our friendship goes against the grain. I've seen you swell up in the rain. I saw you, didn't see your pain. Was it termites? It's never hard to talk to you, though you stump me with your silence. I feel so naughty pining here for your happy face's guidance. My best friend Blank. My best friend Blank.
Will I get copyrighted for that? I better not get copyrighted for that. So moving on to the next level, the plot Ed and the other one with the large head basically want to get into a little kid's presumably 8th or 9th birthday party. Understandably, this child may not want the 3 undesirable con men in this special party. Upon finding this out, however, the trio take the only reasonable solution and sneak through a highly dangerous crocodile and clam infested sewer system. You know, if I had the tools, I probably would have done this as a young child, because playing this game as a kid actually made me think that the whole ordeal might have been a cool, fun idea. And I think this is a good lesson to take into considerations. Sewer levels, harmful to the player, harmful to the game. So this level starts a trend of levels focusing on certain characters' abilities. For instance, take this extract. Double D is to be launched up onto a certain platform using his trampoline ability, and then when up there has to activate a bridge to the rest of the characters and get across. Only Double D can activate the valves, it seems, because he's so smart. Mind you, the AI doesn't seem to do a very good job of putting this so-called intelligent across because of this. Fucking brilliant. You know, it's a trend around sewer levels to be as bleak and colourless as possible. They have to have the inevitable water puzzles where you have to variate the height of the water. Honestly, it isn't the most captivating experience. However, in the Mis-Adventures of three questionable individuals, the game takes the idea of annoying video games to a whole new level. For a start, ever heard of enemies that latched onto you and attack you while you're down, and make sure you can't attack back and slow down the gameplay, and the only way you can get rid of them is by jumping up and down around 5 times, in the process of doing that to the enemies twice before they die, and around after they die, 50 more enemies take their place. And now I know these hostile enemy types were in the present during the previous level, but their presence could be ignored. Yeah, they're right in the middle of the fray, and it wouldn't be so bad if the 3 other characters would help you out, but of course the AI is brain dead, so you know. Also, to make things extra sweet, how do you guys feel about putting random barrels in the middle of progress, and making sure that you have to bash them out the way every time? But every time you bash into them, they make the equivalent noise of grating your teeth on the inside of a pencil sharpener, while listening to Nickelback. But hey, you know what's better than all of that? Making it so these particular annoyances respawn. Good job, guys! Oh well, I suppose we should carry on with the level. Chicken! I'm sorry again. The level ends with the guys escaping from the sewers, and the wax and pinatas and the Counter Sisters appear, barging in on the Ed Boys, starting a trend of random attacks from the admittedly sort of attractive anti-heroes. What? I'm sorry that I got interested in girls way before most people. Around the age of 7. Before most people. The third level is the basic plot of the guys wanting to go to the candy store, Uncultured American Swines. Remember how the last so-called scam was focused around Sockhead's abilities? Well, this episode is based around the unique abilities of Eddy. Sorry, did I use plural? I should have said Eddy's one ability, the Tower of Eddy. I talked about this very situational ability before. It is just tightroping. An ability as awkward as a 40-year-old Christian rock musician trying to be hip and rad for the kids. Or indeed as awkward as my jokes. Honestly, this ability only exists to slow down the gameplay. Imagine running around with 3 characters and then suddenly being drawn to a massive halt to switch to Eddy, mess around with the controls until you press the button to activate the tower, then precariously crossing a narrow bridge with the slippy bastards. A perfect example of this happens on level 4, in which the protagonist must power a generator using Eddy's tower ability to tightrope over areas and pick up generator parts. But be careful not to drop the generator parts, otherwise they respawn back in the spot you've just traversed to get to. I cannot imagine how much pressure this put on me. I felt like a sex addict suffering from withdrawal syndrome walking through Newcastle. You ever see the women in Newcastle? They're disgusting. They're disgusting orange sex monsters. I should know, I live in the area, I can judge. Hey, you ever play those games where the developers have no idea what they wanted to do, so they throw in a mini-game to pad out time?
Let's see how cool you really are.
Well, gee, Kevin, I guess if that makes me cool, I guess I'll just do it, yeah.
See that basketball over there? Pick it up and throw it at these trash cans behind me. Knock them down and I'll let you pass. If not, you losers won't be going anywhere.
Is that a cultural thing in suburbia? I don't understand. I mean, I know the cul-de-sac there isn't much to do in there, but come on! Eventually the gang reach the candy store and start licking some jawbreakers. When this occurs, some anti-theft deterrent is activated in the jawbreakers and Eddy has an allergic reaction. I know how you feel, Eddy. I, for one, am allergic to nuts, and you wouldn't think of me, of all people, would be allergic to nuts, but, I don't know, you know. And then the game introduces a random stealth mechanic. Right. Basically, what we have to do is we have to sneak past children doing strange things without being seen. Honestly, some of the things that they do were so strange that I don't know why we're embarrassing. I mean, have you seen this man over here? What the bloody hell's he doing? Oh, that's some nice subtle references right here by the developers. Do you get it? Do you get it? Stealth. Boxes. Yeah? 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 Okay. Now, I don't really have too much to say about the stealth in the game, apart from the fact it's probably the first stealth sequence in any Ed and Eddy game, or indeed probably any Cartoon Network licensed title, but I can comment that if you're going to make a mechanic for especially a certain scene, it better goddamn work. I'm of course referring to the whole fiasco using the Tower of Eddy to hide behind lampposts. Chicken. The 4th level is reached in a matter of around 40 minutes. Around this point I realised that this is practically the end of Training Wheels Land. Everything about the level is crafted in a way to test your skills with all the characters, from what you've learned in the last 3 levels. The whole area is an assault course that you need to traverse. A homemade wooden battleground of skill and the same puzzles over and over again, involving knocking planks over and then proceeding to walk over their stupid wooden wood. Yes. The music is also military themed, full of action, reminiscent of the show actually. I'm pretty sure the music in this game was just small loops from the television cartoon with the same name, and that's why I haven't mentioned it, not because I forgot to mention it or anything. Oh, here's another random minigame by the way. The game loves those. Yes game, you know how to video game too. To finish off the short level, we play as Eddy in an amusing section I thought I might as well mention, in which we battle Rolf's goat, Wilfred, an idea the game likes so much actually that it makes it do it twice, and upon the second time, it gives us the option to replay, with the replay button already floating over yes. A small feature, but I just thought it might be interesting to bring up. I would say more, but the game just sort of carries on like this, just random short sections with weird puzzles in between. It's so strange.
So in all honesty, the game's pretty meh. It's just a pretty meh game. It's one of those games that's really, really meh. It's just meh. I couldn't get drawn about it. I couldn't feel anything, you know. It's really, really meh. Really meh. Really meh. Really meh.
Unacceptable. This game is supposed to warrant some sort of reaction from him. Well, I suppose if this game didn't warrant some sort of reaction, I know a game that will. Yeah, that's all.
Huh? Oh, I wonder who this could be. Oh. Hope you like it. P. Well, I guess we'll find out what this is. Oh no. Screw that! I don't like that.